AITA for telling a woman in my friend group that what she did wasn't petty revenge, it was just crazy? Throw away because my main has way too many ways to identify me. So this story comes with a lot of context. I, 26F, live in a small, Midwestern town where even if you aren't close with everyone, you know everyone. My grade growing up was the largest, with 98 kids. It was a pre-K-12 school, so at some point or another, you were in a class with every other kid your age, especially by middle school when you were attending about 8 classes a day. And drama got around fast. Especially relationship drama. The woman in question, let's call her Diana, also 26F, had a lot of relationship drama. The ideal that was pushed on a lot of us girls was to lock down a guy by high school and then get married as soon as possible once you graduate. Diana was determined to find her high school sweetheart, and as a result said yes to literally every guy that asked her out. To be clear, I'm not judging her for it. The pressure was high on all of the girls, even teachers talked to us about it. I was lucky enough that pretty much every woman in my family who had done just that was more interested in being brutally honest about how stupid of a choice it had been for them to jump into marriage so young and with the first guy who would ask. But Diana didn't have that. She had more people selling how perfect of life she would have if she just got a good guy young. The guys who asked her out, however, weren't great. They were teenage boys, and they acted like it. Her name came up a lot in the gossip mill, and it was usually about how she was dumped for some stupid reason. At this point, we weren't friends yet, but I knew her and had seen the aftermath of a few breakups she'd been in, starting in middle school. In hindsight, most of them weren't too bad, but for a young teen girl it probably did feel like the end of the world every time she was broken up with. As far as I know, she was never the one who did the breaking up, only ever being broken up with. Senior year, she and I ended up in the same friend group. At the time, she was with her longest-term boyfriend, and she was thrilled because he seemed to be on the same page as she was about getting married fast and starting a family. We were happy for her, and it seemed like a good thing. Until he cheated on her at a party, and broke up with her after she caught him. She was devastated, understandably. She was once again the main topic of teenage gossip, and her latest ex and the girl he cheated with started dating and were very much trying to rub in how happy they were in Diana's face. Just petty, stupid, teenage drama. Diana swore that she was going to be single for a while and decided to work on her life outside of guys, which we all encouraged her to do. She stayed single for about a year, until she met Jake, now 27M. He wasn't from our town originally, but he'd moved there with his family for his dad's work. They hit it off, and Jake was really into her. He was honestly a fantastic match for her, being the kind of guy who just liked making his girlfriend happy. He was willing to do anything she asked. He was as touchy as she was, liked spending all of his free time with her, and since he didn't really have friends in our town yet she was his primary hangout choice. They were together for a little under 2 years. Diana was 21 when they broke up, and Jake was 22. The breakup was a mess, and it divided our friend group even then. Diana had become convinced that Jake was cheating on her, and there was no convincing her otherwise. Some of the reasons, and logical explanations, I can remember are: Jake always went clothes shopping with Diana, and let her pick out his wardrobe. However, he came home with a new shirt one day. It was for work, and it was just a black polo. But Diana was convinced that it was the start of him changing his wardrobe to appeal to another woman at his workplace. Jake had started to form his own friend group. He brought Diana to their hangouts and get-togethers, but she didn't like the group because other girlfriends were also present. Jake asked her to stop openly shit-talking the other girls because his friends were getting mad at him, and she took that as him defending the girls because he liked them. Jake changed his phone password. It didn't matter that he gave her the new password as soon as he'd done it, the fact that he'd changed it at all felt sketchy to her. I have no idea why he changed it, but I don't think he'd give her the new password if he'd changed it to hide anything. Anyways, Jake ended up having to fully cut her off after they broke up. He kicked her out of his apartment that she'd partially moved into, had a third party give her back all of her things, and just generally did his best to avoid her. Diana kept telling everyone who would listen that he was a lying cheat, and our friend group was split in half between the people, like myself, who didn't think that he'd cheated, and the people who were egging Diana on. Still, we all tried to be there for her at the time. And we thought she'd moved on, as she currently has a new boyfriend and hasn't mentioned Jake in these last few years. Well, Jake recently got engaged. I guess his mom never blocked Diana, since Diana never reached out to her, and when she posted it on Facebook Diana saw. And it set her off. She badmouthed the girl, let's call her Julie, in the group chat immediately, sending pictures off her Instagram to make fun of her. Now, not that making fun of her would have been okay anyways, but Julie is an upgrade from Diana in every way. She's absolutely stunning, currently going to school to be a nurse, and from what I could tell from my own snooping, she spends most of her free time volunteering. I'm sure she's got skeletons somewhere, but she seems great and all the pictures of her and Jake make them seem very happy. And that's probably what's driving Diana so nuts. Well, I was the first to tell her she needed to let it go. It's been years, and she's way too hung up on this for a grown woman. A few of the other women in the group echoed the sentiment that it wasn't good for her mental health and that she was happy in her current relationship, so why did it matter what Jake was up to? Well, she apparently just made a new group chat with the girls who were encouraging her, and they all used Julie's profiles to snoop on her and Jake. And they kept encouraging her to get some revenge on Jake. Diana realized that Jake still lived in his same apartment and still had a lot of his clothes that Diana had picked out for him. So, she got the bright idea to dig up old pictures of her and Jake and send them to Julia claiming that Jake had cheated on her, Julia, with Diana, presenting it like the pictures were new. She was bragging about it the last time we all met up, and how even if it doesn't lead to a breakup, she's sure that it caused issues for Jake. And how now she can finally move on from what he did to her after some petty revenge. I pointed out that what she did wasn't petty revenge, it was crazy. She went out of her way to make another girl think that she was being cheated on, which is shitty. Diana defended herself, saying that if they really did have a strong relationship it wouldn't do anything but cause Jake some stress, and if he hadn't changed then she probably saved Julia. I still think what she did was just crazy, and she thinks it's because I never believed her about Jake cheating to begin with. Which is true. I never did believe her about Jake, and I still don't. And our friend group is split in half all over again. Diana hasn't spoken to me, but apparently, she hasn't been doing very well. I've been getting messages from our other friends about how upset she is, and half the friend group is also mad at me for kicking her while she was already down and calling her crazy. The other half of the group is on my side and agree that we're almost 30, she shouldn't still be hung up on a guy she dated that long ago and a breakup she caused with her paranoia. But, one of our friends that's usually really level-headed and agreed with the Jake didn't cheat situation is against me currently. She says that Diana was clearly just going through a lot, and that of course she was feeling badly about seeing her ex getting engaged when she herself hasn't been able to even get her boyfriend to have a real conversation about it yet. I do know how touchy of a subject marriage is for her, and how much her mom has been on her about still not having a ring at our age. But I still think trying to make a girl think she's being cheated on is way too far. So AITA? Should I apologize for calling her crazy at the very least? Edit. Those of us who think she's acting crazy have made a group chat to talk and share information. Apparently Diana has been texting everyone but me. I'll post an update if anything actually happens, but I think for now I am cutting off quite a few old friends. Honestly, wish I could be more sad about it, but the girls I'm cutting out aren't the ones I was close to anyways. And I think I will be much happier with Diana drama in my life. Update. So, it's been a very busy day, but this will probably be the last update I make on the situation since I think it's pretty well wrapped up. So, like I said in my last edit, the remaining part of my friend group added me to a group chat last night to show me what Diana was texting them about me. For the most part, it was just that I was unsupportive and a bad friend, which made me roll my eyes. However, she did feel bold enough to use homophobic slurs in a few texts, which did hurt. I know this situation doesn't paint her in the best light, but she's actually been a pretty good friend these last few years. Being openly bisexual in a small, conservative town isn't easy, and Diana used to be one of the first people to jump to defend me from the exact kinds of comments she was making behind my back. But, that just solidified to me that I was done with her completely. I don't even want to know what she was saying with the women who agreed with her, but it doesn't matter because I'm done with them too, and so are the members of the group I'm still in touch with. Diana can have the people who enable her, and they can all pull each other down together. Now, once we figured out what Diana was saying and who she was saying it to, I was not the only one she was shit-talking. She also was trying to talk down anyone who immediately disagreed with her badmouthing me. We all decided on next steps. First and foremost, we decided to reach out to Julie and let her know Diana was lying. We decided that only one of us should, so she wasn't bombarded with 6 strangers at once. The best news is Julie apparently never took Diana seriously to begin with. Jake had already warned her since this also wasn't the first time Diana had reached out to a girl he was with, that's why she was blocked on his socials to begin with. All Diana's message did was remind Julie to block her and give her a good laugh. Something Diana hadn't thought about was that it had been 5 years, so while Jake did still dress the same and live in the same apartment, it's not like he still looked the exact same or had the same bed sheets. So on that end, things are good. Diana didn't even get a second thought from Julie, though she appreciated being reached out to anyways. Julie is also incredibly petty. She took one of the pictures Diana sent her of her and Jake in his apartment and posted it side by side with one of her and Jake in the exact positions as a before and after. I'm sure, if Diana got to see it, it drove her insane. And I'm sure anyone in her circle who isn't blocked was quick to send it to her. She is actually in our Discord group currently, and she's joining our weekly Stardew night next week. We're starting a new farm. She seems great, and she was honestly happy to be invited. Apparently, she doesn't have a lot of friends in the area, other than her college classmates, and is looking forward to expanding her social circle. Julie also knows about the post the entire new friend group does after I sent it to them. One of the women, who has demanded that I call her Monica, wanted me to correct something from my original post because it was even crazier than I remembered. It wasn't that Jake bought 1 new black polo, he'd brought 5. 1 for every day of his work week. That's what made Diana so sure that someone at his job had to have put him up to it. She was convinced that there was some goth girl at his job who was trying to get him to wear more black, until she found out that his only female co-workers were old enough to be his grandma. I guess even Diana realized the idea of some hot goth granny trying to seduce her boyfriend was ridiculous. That's why she moved on to thinking the other woman was one of his friend's girlfriends. So thank you, Monica, for the correction. Now, some people were worried about Diana retaliating against me, which honestly until it was brought up I never even thought about that. And she did try, kind of. Y'all, she tried to tattle to my mom. A 26-year-old woman tried to tattle on me to my mom ***. I wouldn't have believed it if my mom hadn't called me herself to ask what the hell was going on. She woke up at 6 a.m. to get ready for work and instead was greeted with 4 paragraphs from Diana on Facebook about how I wasn't a girl's girl, and how I gaslit her and called her the C word. Yes, that's how she described me calling her crazy. My mom got herself blocked after saying crazy or the actual C word. Dunno if I can post that one here, because you're acting like both. I love my mom. I had to give her the rundown later when she called, and she thinks Diana is just growing up to be just like her mother. As for those of you who said we should warn Diana's current boyfriend, we honestly don't know how without literally going to find him in person. Diana absolutely wouldn't let him have any of our numbers, and as far as we know he doesn't really have social media. It was one of the things that excited Diana most about him, since it meant he couldn't look at other girls on Insta. We all agreed that if we did run into him, we'd ask if he knew about the Jake situation and fill him in if he didn't. But, for now we're all just done with Diana. I'm sure I'll see her again. Like I said, it's a small town, so unless I'm willing to just pack up and move, which even if I could afford to, I don't plan on leaving just to avoid Diana, I'll probably run into her again. But seeing her doesn't mean I have to speak to her, and right now she's blocked on everything. I don't know if this is the exciting update you all wanted. It's not like Diana did something nuts or tried to ruin my life in the last 24 hours, but Julie and Jake are very much still happily engaged, and Diana did nothing but make herself look stupid and ruin longtime friendships to attempt to get back at an ex for something her mind made up. So, to me, that's a happy enough ending. Thank you to everyone who offered advice on my original post and for reading this update. Take this as your reminder that sometimes, people never leave high school and you should just let those friendships go before they add any stress to your life.